Welcome to Oh Hell No with Nicole.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Oh Hell No. Today we have Chantel, who is an entrepreneur. She is the owner and operator of Lifestyles Events. Welcome, Chantel. Thank you for coming on the Oh Hell No podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So, tell us, what is Lifestyles Events?
So Lifestyle Events was something that I actually started while I was in college. I was the president for the state of Florida's Caribbean Student Association during during being in college in Florida. And because of that, I just really determined what my passion was throughout that time frame, from planning a yearly conference that we would have within the state where all the schools, about 40 to 50 schools within the state of Florida, their Caribbean Student Association would get together and have this huge event. So through doing that, I determined what my passion was, which is event planning, anything logistical, whether it be parties, conferences, things of that nature. So starting out just wanting to get my foot wet, I started out by throwing an event in Florida that was called Seasons. And that's pretty much the birth of Lifestyle Events' first event.
Wow. Okay. What is your Caribbean background?
So my father is Trinidadian. My mother's actually Costa Rican.
Oh, wow.
But I was raised by my father. So just a huge, my background is mostly, being around his family, growing up around that culture all my life.
Wow.
Played a heavy part on who I am today.
Wow. Okay. That's a great mix. So, how did your first event go? Like when you first did this Seasons event, and I want to really get into Seasons a little bit later, but when you first did that event and said, okay, I'm going to step out on faith because I love doing this and I'm going to have this first event, how did it go in terms of money? Like, did you make any money? Did you break even? Did you lose money? How was your first big event?
So when it wasn't big to start off with, and when I first did it, I did it in Florida, and it was a partnership at the time, very small, wasn't lucrative. But what happened is, at this time I was living in Miami, and fast forward a couple of years later, I moved back to New York, which is where I actually was born and majority of my family is. And I decided that New York had a better market for what I kind of wanted Seasons to be. So I kind of launched it here, and the first one was extremely successful. I had it at a venue in Brooklyn. I had about 500 people in attendance, profitable for an event of that size, great energy, great vibes. Logistically, everything went pretty well. We were sold out in the day of. We got a lot of great feedback in regards to people wanting to attend and things of that nature. So the first initial one in Florida didn't start off great, but when I moved to New York and I kicked it off here, it really had a great start.
Wow. Okay, that's awesome because, as you know, that's not always the case when people decide to go into this, line of business. So, when did you feel like you really got a good understanding of the business? I mean, making the decision to move from Florida to New York, that was a fabulous decision. But I mean, even for someone who's young and whatever, I mean, I commend you on that because a lot of people don't really know where to go with the things that they're doing. But going through a business and starting a business, there's a lot of things to learn, especially a business of this caliber. So when do you feel like how many years in would you say that you feel like, okay, I got my footing in this business. I understand how to throw an event, how to make it successful, and how to move forward?
Actuality, I did the event. I think this year was not. I think this year was the 6th year.
Mm-hmm.
But to be completely honest, I dibbled and dabbled in other events. But what really, really gave me confirmation that all right, I got this. This is really what I'm meant to do. Is working with. I probably would say the one of the biggest female promoters within the Caribbean community in the tri-state area. She's also a restaurant owner. She owns Sugarcane Restaurant.
Oh,
Um, I met with her. She was always someone that I generally looked up to within the industry. She was a female. She was doing major events, and she always brought something different to the table. So I don't know. Somehow our paths crossed, and she just really took a liking to me.
mm-hmm.
And from there, we established a relationship. And from there, we did a collaborative event,
Mm-hmm.
and worked alongside her with her big events, which really, really gave me the platform that I feel like was necessary for me to get just knowledge and background with dealing with the thousands of people and putting together an event at the magnitude that she does, because she pretty much she uses blank canvas, so it's everything from scratch. And I've been working with her for probably the past, let's say, 3 years now. So I feel like that experience of working with someone that has been in the business for 15 plus years, throwing consistently successful events with large numbers of people, is kind of what helped me solidify what I was doing for myself. And just, let me know, all right, this is what your passion. But I would say for anyone that wants to venture out and do something of this nature, it's definitely a chance that you take. But in my opinion, the more that if you could get a mentor or someone that's doing it, that, even if you're doing it for free for a while, that just so that you could gain that experience and that knowledge of being in the heat of the moment and being a part of something that's created from scratch, and being able to kind of have an area of, where of responsibility. I think that would definitely be the way to go. And it's what has helped me get to the point where I feel I'm at now.
Yeah, and I love that because I love when you can meet other women who are doing the same thing that you're doing, and they have no problem taking you under their wing and kind of helping you to, find your rhythm and not worrying about what they got going on, because there's
Absolutely.
enough for
Yes.
everybody. You know what I'm saying? So I
Yes.
really love that. Um
And that is totally her mentality. And I mean, I think that that mentality comes with growth,
mhm.
because being around someone older and her having that mentality, it kind of came rubbed off on me. And I didn't always have that, I'll be honest. A lot of times we have this kind of crab in a barrel
Yeah.
mentality, because we feel like, we gotta scratch to get our way to the top. And again, it's something that I always mention anytime I'm speaking to somebody about what I'm doing, because it helped me so much to see someone at that stature willing to embrace me, even though I'm not at the caliber that she's at, and giving me a platform to say, you know what, take this, do this. I believe in you, and I believe in you to be a part of, what I'm doing. So I agree. And I
Yeah.
try my best to reach my hand back as well.
That's awesome. Look at that. You also grew in that experience, and it's awesome of you to be able to say I wasn't always here, but I'm here now and this is how I got here. So, kudos to you. S-
Absolutely.
So, what is the difference between party promoting and throwing events or being an event planner? Is there a difference, or is it basically the same thing?
Uh, you know what? To me, I always hate when people say I'm a party promoter,
Mhm.
even though they generally classify me as such. Because for me, when I look at most party promoters, I don't know that everyone always has the emotion behind what they're doing. And I mean, that's fine because everyone has different reasons for doing things. But for me, when it's your passion, it goes a little bit beyond just being a promoter.
Right.
When it is your passion, you actually you thrive on the people that are in attendance enjoying themselves. You thrive on logistically things happening the way that you anticipated. You thrive on there being those situations that are unfortunate at your event, and just people having a marvelous experience. So for me, when I look at the bulk of promoters and I think about event planning, that's kind of how I separate it in my mind, and it's why I would prefer for people to acknowledge me more of as an event planner than as a promoter, because I'm not just in it to throw something quick and get money. You know, whatever experience I create that has the lifestyle brand exclusively on it, it's because it's something that I want to make sure that is tenured and it stays to the test of time, because people just generally are having a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, being on the outside, it looks like this is a male-dominated industry, or at least it has been. So what do you think, what has been the most challenging part of starting your business and keeping it going? You know, just being a woman and getting in and making contacts and doing your thing.
So I think I'm very transparent, so I'll be completely honest with you. As women, I feel that we wear so many hats, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some of us are mothers, we're aunts, we're best friends, we're girlfriends, we're wives. So for me, the struggle was, as I was growing, just having that balance of ensuring that I maintained the lifestyle brand and I didn't let things affect that.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I've just really come into myself. When I was growing up, a lot of elders would always tell me, you really don't come into yourself until you're in your 30s. But back then I was like, are you crazy? I'm 25. I know everything. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm well into my 30s now, and I feel like I've just come into exactly who I am. And for me, a lot of the issues that I had was, maybe putting down what my beliefs were, or putting down the lifestyle brand for a relationship, or things that, when you in the bigger picture, you always have to maintain yourself and what it is that you want to do. So that was one of my shortcomings, is in regards to it being a male dominated. You're absolutely right. And even to this day, at times I struggle, because the things that from my perspective, that I feel are important for events, it might not necessarily be the take of a male.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. I have an event that's just a fun event that's called Pop-Up, and it's a series that I actually do with another huge promotional team out of this area that's called Teach Heads Crew, and they're 4 males.
Mm-hmm.
So, at first, we've been doing it for 2 years, and at first I just struggled for them, I think, for me to gain the same amount of respect. Not that they were disrespectful, but just, them being in it for such a long time, me kind of being new to it, and them really realizing what I had to bring to the table. So I think it's just a matter of determining what's important to you, what you want your brand, how you want people to perceive your brand, mm-hmm. and to kind of stick to it. And even if it's not what's popular, that you continue to maintain that through hard work and dedication. And I feel that eventually you get the shine that you want. And I think that's where I'm at. We just had a pop-up over the weekend that went extremely well. They get me, I kind of get them. They get that certain things that are important for me might not be for them. And, even though I might not bring the same things that they're bringing to the table, what I do bring to the table is just as valuable. So even though it's difficult at times because males dominate it, I feel like once you put in that work and you show you're credible, then they can't deny you after a certain amount of time.
Right. Good. So what is the biggest mistake that you've made to date, and what did you learn from it, from being in this business?
I feel like self-doubt, because I'm just a very precautious person by nature. So whether it be professionally at, my 9 to 5 or whatever it is I'm doing, I try to plan everything out. And I've learned that within this industry, you have to take risks in your beliefs. And that was very hard for me to do. So I think the biggest mistake would be me not having that confidence in myself. And I probably would have started earlier, just taking bigger risks at what I believed in and not requiring so many opinions to move forward with my plans.
Yeah.
So although that was my biggest opportunity, I also feel like it's been my biggest ability for growth, because now that I'm here, I'm stronger and I'm just, I know why it just doesn't make any sense to get a million different opinions about what I'm going to do, and why sometimes you just have to run out and do it on your own and take whatever consequences come with it. But you learn from that, and you also gain this inner strength that you can't get from not taking a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a major thing for a lot of people, because even with myself, I feel like I constantly say, oh, are you going to be able to do this? Is it going to sound good? Are you going to do it right? Like, instead of just saying, this is what I want to do, and I'm just going to do it. Who cares? Like,
right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it takes a while to get there, but when you do, it's amazing.
And it's a certain level of freedom as well, because when you succeed after taking that risk, that takes you to a different height as well. So, if I had to do it again, I would take more risk with my dreams and my aspirations as far as lifestyle events goes.
Awesome. So Blossom. Now, Blossom is a big, beautiful event. I've never been to a Blossom party personally. I was supposed to go to one, but somebody named Lisa didn't tell me till the last minute. So I didn't get my ticket and I had to go someplace else. But these events are beautiful, just from what I see, the pictures online. So I want to know, you told us that this was born a while ago, from like a very long time ago when you put this company together. So I want to know, how many different Blossom parties do you do a year? Because I see like Summer Blossom, and I think there's something else that goes on.
Okay, so Summer Blossom is actually my mentor's event.
Oh,
so
okay.
And you shouldn't even feel bad, because again, I'm with her a lot because she's my mentor. So people a lot of times with her events, they automatically attach me to it, which I don't have a problem with it because they're awesome. So really, my main event is Seasons, and I was initially, for the first 2 or 3 years, I was doing them for every season, so summer, spring. But now I've drawn back to just doing it during the summer. So there's a Summer Seasons, and then I do an event that's called Beautiful Jab, which is a collaboration with Charmaine from Sugarcane, who does Blossom. She also does Flutter. And then her biggest event for the year is Sparkle, a New Year's Eve gala.
Yeah, those are the like major parties. So the Seasons, Blossoms, and Flutter. That's what I see, and those are like really beautiful events. So the Seasons you only do in the summer. Why did you stop the other seasons?
Because it wasn't as lucrative.
Okay.
I stopped it back when I pretty much just didn't want to take a lot of risk.
Okay.
And now that I think about it, I probably would have done things a little bit more different. But to be completely honest with you, lifestyle events is less of um, throwing events and more of working and operating the logistics of events for others.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my core events just so that I could keep relevant within that community and kind of show people what I have to offer. But in actuality, long term, I look for lifestyle events to be a company that caters to others for their event needs, logistically, anything you could think of, that it will require managing it, entertainment wise. That's where I want, to be in the next couple of years. So when I talk about not necessarily being a promoter, that's kind of why, because my ultimate goal is to be, an event planner and have people look to my services for helping with their events.
Right. So when you collaborate with your mentor on an event, what are you responsible for?
Logistics, everything from basically she's a visionary,
Mm-hmm.
and with visionaries, they can create something from nothing. And it's just my personal belief that everyone doesn't necessarily have that talent. For example, I don't necessarily see myself having that specific talent. And what I mean when I say that, because people tend to argue with me about it, it's just that it takes a certain level of a certain level of funk to be able to say, you know what, this empty, these four walls that are completely empty, I'm going to put this there, I'm going to put that there, and then it's going to look like this. For me, I have to see it. So I would need drawings. I would need to determine, okay, I need to see it in order to know that, okay, it's gonna look the part. And with her, she's not like that. However, on the other end, I feel like where our having me is beneficial is that I make it happen.
Right.
So she'll basically put her plan in place. She'll walk the venue and say, I want a million things done, and then I'll ensure that by the time the event starts, everything that she wants is in the place that she wants it. That logistically, I know how to facilitate the crowd. That yes, her bar is going to be there, but how are we going to ensure that all the patrons could get there and it's easily accessible and drinks are moving? So I'll more think of the things like that for her and ensure that those things are managed as well as ensuring that her vision comes to life.
Got it. So she comes up with that beautiful, all the butterflies and all this
Everything,
things. And
yes.
then she says, Chantel, make it happen. And you put everything together and make it happen.
The way she wants, yes.
Right, the way she wants it, the way she sees it in her head anyway. That's amazing. So how long does it take you guys, or you in general, like for your events, your seasons and your beautiful job and the pop-up, how long does it take you to plan one event?
I guess it depends on, so a lot of them are different, but to be honest, I like to start at like a 3-month time frame.
Mm-hmm.
That's generally like when I would want to start rolling it out as far as marketing, planning, decor, things of that nature. And people say I overplan, but for me, if I could get a 3 months, it for me, it makes me feel comfortable that I'm going to be able to get everything that's needed. So about 3 months for every event. Pop-up's a little bit different because it doesn't require as much. It's just really like an old time, come out and have a good time. When it's very inexpensive, so don't expect that there's going to be these lavish flowers and things of that nature. But it's pop-up is more about making things affordable and enjoyment like it used to be a long time ago. So
Right.
for that event, it doesn't require as much, but logistically, I just generally take a long time to plan out like the entry, the bar, like making sure that people always have access to the things that they paid for, the music, the sound, the setup of it, the DJs, who's going to play, what type of event am I having this time, type of vibe do I want, depends on what DJ that I'll book for that specific event. So
So, do you do any events out of the state or out of the country?
I last year I did an event. I went back to Florida
Mhm.
and I did an event there that was not so successful.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't say I wouldn't, I wouldn't try it again, but I would probably spend a little bit more time determining when the time to have it is. But I do Miami Carnival's working up. There's a big event that I've worked for probably the past 7 years. That's called Red Eye. That generally has thousands of people. I've been as I've what I did is I utilized my event to kind of push me out there. So I've been hired for multiple events in
Mhm.
the past 2 years. So I'll be working on another event in Miami for Carnival time, but I haven't really ventured out too much. I did, let's see, what is this? The second year, this will be the second year that I'm doing an event called Dinner Society.
Mhm.
That's just, it's not a party. It's like so last year I had 175 guests in attendance. It's a sit down dinner. It's generally on a Sunday from 8 to 1 o'clock. It's catered. The decor is just generally, I usually just, my intention is that when you walk in, it kind of blows your socks off. So it was all inclusive this past year, very affordable. I think that the ticket was $125. And when I say very affordable, I didn't even make anything from it. But again, that really wasn't my goal
Right.
when I was rolling it out. It was just I wanted to do something sophisticated, sexy, and somewhere where you could bring your husband or
Mhm.
you could bring your wife or you could just feel like you're not in Brooklyn. So
Right.
that's a new event that I rolled out that I'll be doing. This will be my second year of doing it in December.
That's great. That sounds very nice. Make sure you hit me on the
I will.
DM
I
girl or
will.
something.
Lisa was there, so I'll make sure that between her and myself we keep you looped in.
Yes, please. So I was gonna ask you. You just said that you're gonna go to Florida. You've been hired to do work a carnival event. What about like for yourself? Because carnival is so lucrative, and I mean, there's so many parties. Do you think it's like too competitive because it's so overly saturated with like the people who already have the parties every year, or is it just too much to be running from country to country trying to keep up?
No,
What do you?
no,
Yeah.
I do think I do for Miami. I do think it's oversaturated, so you would never really catch me there.
Mhm.
Not that I'm afraid of competition, but I also believe that at some point you have to determine, if there's 30 events in one day, there, I mean, you can say that there's room for everyone, but when it comes to those type of numbers, to me, that's a bit much, and I
Yeah.
would never want to put myself in a position, nor would I want to a certain degree, step on anyone else's toes. So
Right. So it's
I
probably.
try to remain I try to keep away from that as much as possible. But it's tough because even in right here in the tri-state, sometimes I bump into the same dates,
Mhm.
with others. But just for the carnival, I don't think that for me it's not something that ever interests me. I'm just not up for the fight to
Yeah.
gain,
Yeah.
yeah,
I totally
and I
understand.
respect I respect a lot of the promoters that have been doing it for years. So
Mhm.
it just I would look for something that is missing, like they're missing the opportunity to have a good event. And in my eyes, I feel like there's every day in Miami, there's something that you could go to that you would enjoy. So to me, it would be no need to jump into that arena.
Right. So, when you're planning events, what is the one thing that you stay away from? Like maybe something that you, from past experiences or whatever, just something that nah, I'm not doing that. That's not going to work. Is there anything in particular?
As far as the actual event itself or a type of event,
Yeah,
if
like
you ask,
anything. Yeah, like it could be just maybe a type of event. Like I will never do X type of event, or I will never hire this, or I will never like. What is there a rule that you have for yourself when you're planning your events that you just say? Like last week, I interviewed a stylist, and he had an experience where he went to do outfit a whole play, and their budget wasn't right, and they didn't have enough money for what they were asking for, and it was just a very uncomfortable situation for him. So he said, going forward, if the money ain't right, I'm not taking the job. Like, I don't care.
I hear that.
you know
Yeah.
so for
I,
you.
I think for me, I'll never compromise on a venue location because I've done it in the past and I just wasn't happy with it. So for me, if it has to be the right location to throw my event, and if it means canceling because I can't get that, then I'm willing to do that opposed to just putting my event anywhere. And I mean, to some that might sound crazy because it's not huge, but for me, even if it's 300 people, 400 people, I just want to ensure that the things that I would want out of an event I'm providing, and to me, that's extremely important. So I think venue location, I wouldn't just take my event anywhere. It has to be a certain caliber. It has to represent my brand to the fullest. And then that would probably be the main thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say, probably if you would have caught me a couple years ago, I would probably say I would never do this type of event. But that's changed over time. So there probably isn't a specific type of event that I would not do. I just, my only thing is that I just still wanted to, regardless if it's a dollar event or a $50 event, my brand still has to be represented in the same way for each event. I might not be able to provide the same service, but I still want to ensure enjoyment of my patrons, and they're comfortable and they're safe and they get their money's worth. So
yeah, and that's important because I feel like venue really determines if people want to come out or not. Because I just,
right.
I've been hearing going out a lot lately, and people will be like, "Oh, where's the party? Where are they having it?" So that's a big thing. So I think that's a good rule of thumb to have. So, what is the most expensive thing about planning events?
I think decor gets expensive. Staffing,
Wow.
staffing, believe it or not, and then entertainment.
Yeah.
So
DJs,
I would think
right?
that those are because you want to ensure that you're properly staffed so that people feel like they're being accommodated. And then you want to ensure that you get the best entertainment so that you could actually rely on them to ensure your guests are having a good time. So, and then decor, depending on it gets expensive in general. So, I like my girls to match. That's another reason why I try to start 3 months out, because obviously, I have my 9 to 5, and then that's usually what's pumping money into my business. So,
oh wow, so you
just
have a
to give
9
myself
to
time
5.
to.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you have a 9 to 5 and you do this?
Yeah,
Wow, that's
the busy season
amazing.
for me is summer.
Okay.
So outside of summer, it's not really busy at all, to
Oh,
be
okay.
completely honest. So
But this is
until
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
until I no, you're fine. Until I get to where I was telling you, where I just want to be hired more to do other people's events, then I have to maintain my lifestyle. So I have to have a 9 to 5 until I get it to the point where it's operating on its own, and I could afford not to work. But I'm a little ways away from that, so not far, but a little ways away from it, and I'm diligently working on it. So I want to say within the next 2 years, that's where I see myself. I see myself being able to completely be, just an entrepreneur and working for myself.
Well, it's still
Solely.
amazing. It's still amazing what you're doing. And a lot of people are, working 9 to 5s and doing, following their passion and pursuing, what they love on the side. I've talked to a couple of people, and what the theme seems to be is multiple streams of income. That's what we all need to really, survive and have a comfortable life. And also just, trying to figure out what your passion is too, because I'm in the same boat. I work a 9 to 5 and then I do this on the side, and I don't make any money off of this. Not yet, but
right, not yet.
Right.
Exactly. I was going to say not yet.
Right. But I really enjoy just talking to people and hearing their stories. It just motivates me to keep doing what I'm doing. And, it's really a nice experience. So
awesome.
With that being said, I want to thank you for, sharing your story with us. And before I let you go, you have to tell me what your Oh Hell No moment of the week was, because this is the Oh Hell No podcast. So did you have an Oh Hell No moment this week?
Yes, I have an Oh Hell No moment every week.
Well, we want to know.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. It's funny that you asked that. My Oh Hell No moment for the week had to be at my 9 to 5. I had a meeting with my boss, and he in the recap of the meeting, he completely misconstrued a statement that I made to a client. I'm sorry. So when I got in and I read it, I definitely had an Oh Hell No moment, and I had to respond correcting him that no, that's definitely not what I said, and this is what was said. So my Oh Hell No moment was this morning, but it's funny because now I can laugh about it.
Right, absolutely. All right, Chantel, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck with your company and your endeavors, and I wish you all the best.
Okay, thank you so much for having me.